Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Man, there's some at least good articles coming out of Iraq. Some good news when it comes to the economy as well as the non-oil sector. We're going to go over that here in just a moment. Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. As you are well aware by now, right now is a good time to buy gold and silver. And when you go to buy your precious metals, go check out our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code PIMPY, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. So an interesting report from the World Bank. It says the World Bank announces in numbers the recovery of the Iraq economy, and it's looking really good. It said Thursday, the World Bank announced in numbers the recovery of the Iraqi economy, while it expected that the overall growth for the current year would rise up to 8.9%, which is seems that's actually a revisal, because the numbers that they first had out was about a little over 6%. So that looks really good. And I'm sure they're not taking into consideration if once oil hits around $150 a barrel. It says, and the World Bank said in the report that the Iraqi economy has begun to gradually recover from the double shock of the RONA and the collapse of the oil prices, noting that oil and non-oil growth are on the right track to reach pre-endemic levels with increased oil production and easing of the RONA restrictions. He added that the financial and external deficits return to surpluses. That's what you want. In other words, there is no debt. You are collecting money. With the continued rise in oil prices, expecting the medium-term growth to be driven by the oil sector, with the gradual cancellation of OPEC production cuts. The outlook remains subject to significant risk, including uncertainties related to the impact of geopolitical tensions, the ongoing RONA, security challenges, and climate change, the bank added. And the World Bank confirmed in its report that it is estimated that the real Iraqi GDP growth by 1.3% in 2021, after a sharp contraction of 11.3% in 2020. Of course, we know the RONA affected everybody. Noting that the recovery was mainly driven by the non-oil sector. That's what you want to hear. That's what we want to hear. Which grew by 6% in 9 months in the year 2021, year on year, and supported by the strong performance of the highly telecom sectors, including the transportation, accommodation, and retail sectors. Regarding the Iraqi agriculture sector, the bank stated that this sector shrank by 17.5% and 36.8% respectively in the wake of severe drought, power outage, and the rise of global price of input during 9 months of the year, explaining that the oil GDP shrunk by 4% on an annual basis as Iraq adjusted its oil production in accordance with the OPEC agreement, and the general and core inflation rate rose to an average of 6% and 6.6% on an annual basis in 2021, respectively, after the 23% currency devaluation in December of 2020, a gradual recovery in domestic demands. They indicated that the shift in the oil market led to a significant improvement in the economic outlook for Iraq in the medium term, expecting that the total growth in the current year will reach 8.9% with the end of the OPEC quotas, and the Iraqi production exceeds the pre-epidemic levels of 4.6 million barrels per day. The World Bank indicated that the growth in the coming years will continue at an average of 3.7%, with moderation in oil production. This is what we want. This is what we want to see. All this strengthens the dinar. Well, now here is an interesting article. I never thought that I would agree with both Washington and Iran on any given day, but here we go. Washington informed Barzani, "We differ with Iranians in all files except for the renewal of Burhams." Yeah, I agree with that as well. I'd like to see him be president again. So an informed source revealed on Wednesday a clear and explicit position by the United States administration towards the extension of the current president of the republic, Barham Saleh. The source told the news that the U.S. administration informed the head of the Kurdistan Democratic Party, Barzani, it is in agreement with the Iranian trend to extend Barham. I agree with that as well. Their source quoted the text of the United States letter to Barzani, stating that Washington differs with, of course, Iran and all other things, except for when it comes to Saleh. Last Sunday, the Iraqi president, Barham Saleh, warned against the continuation of the current political crisis that the country is going through about 6 months after the election, considering that it has led to dangerous results. In a statement marking the 19th anniversary of the U.S. occupation, Saleh called for a new political contract. So yeah, both in one day. Good Lord, I actually agree with both of them. Loving this. Al-Kadhimi talks about his goals when, I should say, he wins a new mandate as prime minister. It said that the Iraqi Prime Minister Al-Kadhimi revealed during his interview with the American newspaper Washington Post that he wants a diversified and democratic Iraq, and the newspaper described this as a noble vision, but it is fraught with dangers, as Iraq now and always stands on the fault line between Iran and the world. Al-Kadhimi said during the interview that took place in his office in Baghdad, our region cannot fight more wars. Al-Kadhimi hopes that the United States and Iran can agree on a new nuclear deal as a first step towards easing tensions. We need an agreement that brings some calm to the region. Al-Kadhimi made it clear that he wanted to continue U.S. support, including a small non-combative military presence, to help stabilize the country. He continued, we really believe in our relationship with the United States as a country that helped get rid of the dictatorship, also helped develop our democratic systems. A report noted that Iraq, which lies in the focal point between Iran and Arabs, remained the most impressive but also the most frustrating challenge in the region. She reinforced the reason for this, being large and fertile land, blessed with energy and other resources, with a dynamic but fluctuating population mix of Shiites, Sunnis, and Kurds. For the country, there is Al-Kadhimi, the leader strongly supported by moderate Arab states such as Egypt, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates, but also speaks with Iran. The reporter pointed out that the problem of Al-Kadhimi and his American friends is that Iraq, for the time being, remains weak due to corruption, political fighting, and Iranian interference. The Iraqis want a strong, well-managed country. On paper, there is now a parliamentary majority for a coalition of Shiites, Sunnis, and Kurds to form a new government, perhaps with Al-Kadhimi remaining as prime minister. But forming a new government has been impossible so far with all the difficulties faced by the political process in Iraq since October's elections. The report stated that Iraqi corruption and Iranian manipulation reinforce each other. He recalled that when he became prime minister in 2020, Al-Kadhimi tried to clean up the corruption by appointing the most powerful Iraqi policeman, Lieutenant General Ahmed Rajif, to run crime commissions to follow up on murder and corruption. But under Iranian pressure, an Iraqi court last month ordered the arrest of Rajif. Al-Kadhimi refused execution of the order, but the scene was depressing. And the Washington Post continued, the situation could get worse if the nuclear talks between the United States and Iran collapses, leaving Al-Kadhimi in an uneasy position in the middle. And the U.S. official warned that if the talks collapse, Iraq is likely to be the victim. When I asked the American sage, Al-Kadhimi, what his agenda would be if he were to get a new mandate as prime minister, he immediately answered, strengthening Iraqi's sovereignty. Yes, that's what you want to hear, and hopefully they find a way to do it, so that he can resist external attempts to manipulate the country. His second goal, impose the state's monopoly on arms. He continued to discuss economic reforms and privatization. And the newspaper concluded that Al-Kadhimi's goals are the right ones, but he will need help. This brings us back to the United States, which was at once Iraq's best and worst friends in recent decades. So it looks like there's a lot of agreement that continuing with Saleh as the president and Al Kadhimi as the prime minister, they'll continue to stay on track. Al Kadhimi so far has been able to walk a real tightrope between all those that he speaks to the Kurds, the Sunnis, and the Shiites, as well as Iran, and keep everybody in check. You got to respect that. I know I do. Let's hope both Saleh and Al Kadhimi continue in their current positions and they manage to keep the country on track. So far, so good economically, but politically, no bueno. Anyways, that's it for now. You guys hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, you know it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. And I'll catch you later. I'm out.